Well, my guest tonight is one of the top actors we've got. He's appeared in such notable films as Places in the Heart, The Killing Fields, and Eleni. He starred in Death of a Salesman on Broadway and on TV with Dustin Hoffman. Please welcome John Malkovich. I gotta ask you something, right? I saw you on the Letterman show, and you were telling a story about how you trained Mr. T to be an actor, and you mentioned that Mr. T had a briefcase with him all the time with a chain attached to his wrist, but you never finished what was in the briefcase.
I think that's what I was wondering quite a bit about, because even like the first day of class, he came in with his two bodyguards, and they kind of like swept the room, and then he just always kind of kept that briefcase on his lap, and I never, well, what could I say, I never really had the courage to ask him what was in it.
Weren't you just tempted to grab it and start to run?
Not really. Yeah, maybe a little tempted.
What did you learn? I mean, Mr. T must have learned a lot. What did you learn from Mr. T? Must have learned something from him, right?
I learned a lot about necklaces. And, you know, mohawks, I guess. No, but he had to drop out because he got another film. And so we never got to do a scene or anything.
Yeah, he's really, I saw him at the fights. I mean, he wears more gold. I mean, that's not just like, that's not just for, he wears it in the street. I don't know how he keeps his head up.
Well, when he came to his audition, they said he had like, maybe like 60 gold chains on. He's pretty much of a jewelry store. Yeah. But he's really sweet.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, isn't he?
He's very nice.
Who's going to say he's not?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, not
right. The two of us are going to sit here and say, you know, what an ass he is, man.
Yeah.
Usually you have that, you know, you got in a complimentary way, you got a weird, like, offbeat look to you. You know, and
let's face it.
Yeah, let's face it. And you have that look in you know, that tough kind of look that you can have, that intense look. And this is a complete departure. You're going into comedy.
Yeah.
Did you like doing this comedy?
Well, it's a lot more fun to do things like this. I mean, you know, if you do something like say, The Killing Fields, I mean, there's just not a whole lot of laughs in it, you know? I mean,
no.
Or like Death of a Salesman, you know, I did that sort of every day or night or something for a year and a half, and sort of never hear anybody laugh gets kind of frightening, I think, to me anyway.
Especially to me, I mean, you know.
Yeah. You'd be in a little trouble.
Yeah, a lot of trouble. You know, when your violent roles like True West, I guess, on the stage really is the role that everyone, it sort of launched you in that. Now, all that violence that you had, because that character was so violent, where does that come from? Where do you have it? You seem like such a, like, mellow, like, you know, kind of looted out kind of guy, you know? Really laid back and...
Yes, yeah. Your cameraman shot that, by the way.
You're kidding, really?
No, he shot it for PBS, yes. He was one of our operators.
Let's hear it for Les. Cameraman.
Well, I think True West was basically, I sort of hope he's watching, but it was basically an imitation of my older brother, who's, I wouldn't want to say he was sort of a pig when I was growing up, but my family was quite physical. And, I mean, pretty much every day we would have a fist fight or two, and the butcher knife would come out, and the bread rollers, the what have you. And I think, like, after 18 years of that, it sort of calmed me down. I became maybe a little tired of it. But True West, for me, was just sort of basically a recreation of kind of a very un-Peter Pan-like childhood.
Yeah, I'd say Peter Pan would not exist very long in that house.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a break and come right back right after this. Well, we were talking about violence before and some of the roles in life. So the story I heard about you attacking a bus then is true. You once beat up a bus.
I, well, I gave it a bloody nose, sort of, yeah. No, I was coming, I'd been with my wife somewhere, and I was doing True West at the time, and we came out of Grand Central, and this bus driver pulled up at the thing, and I was standing at the thing, he started to get on, he closed the door, you know, and I go like, hey, you know, like, what about me? And he goes like, and then kind of pointed down the street and what I assume was like the next bus stop. So I ran down there, and I was already kind of like late for the show, and ran down there, and as soon as I got there, I saw him like looking in the rearview mirror, and when I got there, he closed the doors to the bus again, so I punched a hole through it.
Well, you should have had some, it's understandable, but you should have had some empathy because you were a bus driver once.
Yes, I was, yeah.
You drove what, children?
Yes, yeah. But I didn't close the door on them. You know,
Just
I didn't like leave them out in traffic and stuff.
Yeah. What was that, a school back home that you drove for?
Yeah, it was a day school called Solomon Schechter Day School, which was a lot of little kids, I think up to like 6th grade or something. And I loved that job. It was a great job. Yeah.
I always thought that would be like a rough job to have all those kids behind you. You know, if you could drive the bus backwards, if you could face them and do this. But how do you trust that many kids to your back?
Well, I never would. I mean, you'd have to be mad. But every once in a while, they kind of scream out at me, you know, do you understand why no one wants to sit in the front of the bus? You know, don't you see what's wrong with you? They go off sometimes, but my kind of unwritten rule was, you know, I told them like the second day when they were up, you know, like doing whatever they do, using the bathroom in the bus or whatever it is they're on about, throwing their spit wads or whatever, and running around, you know, there was a rule at the school that they couldn't stand on the bus. And so, you know, I just said, look, I'll tell you once, but then, you know, someday we'll just be going along and then we'll just like go into a big power slide, you know, and you'll just be like hitting the thing, so.
They understood that. They had that.
Yeah, that they get.
They can relate to that.
They can scope that.
Yeah.
They understand what you're saying at that level.
You were mentioning your wife. Now, you've done films with your wife. I know, I saw, and she actually played your wife in Eleni.
Yes.
Right? She played your wife in it. Now, you work together. How is it to work with your wife where you know you're going to... You ever bring the stage of the film home or the home into the film?
Glenn and I have worked at a theater in Chicago called Steppenwolf for many years, and I have acted with her a bunch of times and directed her a bunch of times. When we act together, it's always a lot of fun. Sometimes not always an enormous amount of fun when I'm directing her, possibly because her idea of fun is not taking instructions from me. That's like her idea of like a really bad time. But she's really smart and really good, and I like to work with her a lot. And no, we really don't bring it home too much. If for no other reason, then I don't like to discuss that sort of thing at home very much. I don't think it's very healthy, really.
Yeah, to bring it. Well, what I would think, it's difficult enough to look at a person and to imagine that they are a certain character with whom you're playing. But to look at your wife, you got to go another step to also look, and she's your wife, and you got to make believe she's not just a person, not just a wife. Right. She's the other character.
Plus, she owes you money. And
I get big problems, right? Yeah. Big problems. We'll be right back after this. You're doing Spielberg's next film, and you're going to China to do it. You got to be excited about that.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I think it's called The Empire of the Sun, and it's set in Shanghai during World War II, during the Japanese occupation of China, and Steven Spielberg's directing it, and I leave Friday.
You're leaving this Friday?
Yeah.
Do me a favor, when you come back, tell us what China's really like.
Okay.
Yeah, and see if they have a number 24 and 7 dinners, my favorites.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Thanks a lot.